Welcome to She Blaze, where we're giving you cannabis culture from a woman's point of view. And as always, here to elevate the cannabis industry. I'm one of your hosts, Big Ice Dawson, cannabis socialite. And we know who you are now.
Whatever. So I am Dashita Dawson, and I am the weed head. Yes,
You definitely the weed head.
Every day.
Yeah. Just smell like cannabis. She has it's like a sweet cannabis aroma whenever she leaves the room. Just a little bit.
I love that. Yes. Okay.
Yes.
So, what we got going on?
Oh my God.
There's so much going on.
Like,
as always.
It's the inferno.
Non-stop, always something. Last week we were talking about all of the vape craziness.
Yes.
Like, what's going on right now?
Oh my God. So like I said, the cannabis industry right now is inferno and it is hot. So let's spark these hot topics. And Nevada's cannabis industry. We're bringing up Nevada again. You know, it's our home base now. So I definitely be on my little journalist tea research. And
You're like, what's on the
right. Let me just get familiar. And really, we're real familiar. We talked about Nevada's licensing freeze, and it's because that the licensing chief, had improper conduct during giving the application. So last year in December, 462 applications were applied for the marijuana industry, and only 61 licenses got in.
Okay.
And they're saying that it was due to favoritism and improper conduct during the court hearing.
Well, that's never good to hear. And of course, I'm not surprised, and I know you're not surprised. So just to give a little bit more groundwork, Nevada has legalized, obviously, for adult use. And this is a big tourist state. This is a big opportunity. Our company is based here in Nevada, and I definitely feel like it's a good opportunity for anybody to join the industry from this market, because you can reach so many different things. But it sounds like, and it never is good, right, to be in a situation where you're building a new industry and you already feel that there are some limitations on who has access. And we've been talking about it, and I can guarantee you, of the list of companies or organizations, we're probably not going to be seeing too many people of color in that either.
Definitely not. Even though, I feel like Nevada has a lot of minorities within its state. It's just they aren't heard.
Yeah.
And so right now they're saying that he didn't even do the background check on people that had less than 5% ownership. And, we know once you broke it down to me, you had to break down the process of how companies and shares are given out. But even if you have 1% of a share, it's a lot, right?
Yeah. I mean, I think at the end of the day, other states are doing thresholds. So if you don't own a certain amount, then you don't have to go through it. But the way the law is written in Nevada, essentially, it is everybody that has to go through it. And so the issue is some applicants went through that process and some did not.
Yeah.
And the other issue is that there's been some discussion about improper meetings. This is a system that we can't start off already rigged. As a matter of fact, I feel like we have a responsibility just to make sure that we are doing it the right way, because so many people have already been incarcerated, neighborhoods, communities, lives destroyed. And I mean, honestly, some of the stories that we're reading and hearing is just crazy. We still have so long to go, and it just feels terrible when you hear stories about people basically getting in without having the same standards that everyone else does.
Hey, it kind of sounds like that college scandal that happened earlier this year. No tea, no shade.
Yes, true.
But we know how these things turn out, but we just wanted to put these out on the street so you know what's going on in this hot Nevada street.
I mean, and that is a real hot topic.
Yeah.
And also just be aware that there's a lot of this going on in other states. So I don't want to put Nevada on blast. There was a position when Maryland at some point had like multiple people in litigation because of just people not really liking the way the process went.
Yeah.
There's been lawsuits in New Jersey, and I'm sure in New York. I think at the end of the day, we haven't seen a process of defining the new licenses that has been good yet. And, I'm fingers crossed that Illinois and Michigan start, but already we see the foolery. And so, we got to call it out. But this is just an example that eventually all of the things that are done in the dark will come to light. And so as you enter the industry, you probably just want to try your best to stay on the up and up. And I think if you're a person of color, you maybe really want to do that more than anyone else because everybody's kind of watching you too. So.
No, I totally agree. And talking about other licensees and things like that, we're about to get real into the business. It's probably a really great topic for you.
Yeah, you about to have me
in taking us to business school, y'all.
Yeah.
So,
yeah.
So I know. Teacher Dr. Dawson wants to teach us.
Well, that's not yet. I'm Dr. yet.
Shortly, just wait on it. So Lowell, they are the first cannabis consumption lounge to open up in California, and it's in, guess where? West Hollywood, baby.
Of course.
And so everyone, because there are a few other consumption licensees in California and in consumption lounges. So this is the first cafe one. So people are really trying to figure out how did they do it.
It's also the first one that's like open for real, right?
Right.
So people hold licenses, but they're still trying to figure out how to open their businesses.
Yes.
That's a lot.
Especially in South Cal.
Yeah. But yes, first of all, Lowell is like my favorite flower in California of the legal market. And, I think that they do a good job with their branding as well. It's spot on.
Yeah.
I feel like this is a real coup for them and stepping out and being a real thought leader on how, consumer experiences can be. I love the branding because it's spot on for someone who truly is a cannabis connoisseur or a smoker.
Yeah.
From the brown and the feel of the corrugated paper and the matchbox that comes with it. It's just really well done with the little magnet. It's no mess, no fuss, but still elegant.
Yes.
And what they describe with this cafe cannabis consumption lounge is pretty much the same thing. I mean, sometimes when you're stuck up against the wall, and that's what I love about the cannabis industry, it makes you put innovation into play. And they've been very innovative with the way that they put together this business. Essentially, the industry requires a lot of multi-businesses. You gotta form different conglomerates in order for you just to practice. So they are cultivation, right? That's a different business touching the plant from even the business that's really just running their overall company. That could be just a management company and a separate business so that it can actually do business with the banks. And now what they've shown is that they can have a cafe that sells non-alcoholic beverages.
Yep. Non-alcoholic beverages, food, and
I knew you was going to be like, yes, and let me tell you where else.
Right. Yes.
Well,
because even though it's sold out, for the next 3 months, it's still on our list to go. So call us, you know what I'm saying? But yes, so it sells food, non-alcoholic beverages, and you cannot consume cannabis in the area that has the food and the regular drinks.
Yes, and what's smart is from the outside, the street, it's really, it looks like a regular cafe, and it can be, and it will. If they do their branding or they take the same care in that space, it'll be beautiful. And it is separate, and then you can walk into a pretty large, what is it, 1,800 square foot?
Yes, it's it's 1,800 square foot garden. That's a consumption outdoor. The indoor is 2,500 square foot for the cannabis consumption indoor. And then your cafe is 1,600 feet. So
mostly they feel like people gonna be in.
We trying to smoke. That's why we here, right?
Yeah. So what they've done that's smart is they've separated those businesses.
Yes. They separated them, and they had to all have different bathrooms. That is their point of separation. And it's really cool because it is a staple cannabis brand. Like, we do like that brand. Actually, that's like one of the first things you picked up and continue to pick up. They do very well at doing, you know, your cannabis cocktails that you like too.
Yes, I love. I mean, what I mean by cannabis cocktails, just so everybody knows, is that it's not a drink. I basically take a fresh flower of pure strains, and I decide that I'm gonna, you know, round up about 25% of my pipe will be this strain versus, you know, maybe 75% of another strain. This is my cocktail that I put together, and they have a couple of pre-rolls where they've already done that in just a pretty amazing way. So definitely shout out to Lowell. I love this concept, and I love this from a business perspective because it will be something that we can like sort of look to say, hey, any other states having an issue putting together this, because you don't have the law a little bit, what are we talking about, like grow science laws? So you're like, you don't want your food with your cannabis, fine, no problem. This is a great way to kind of hack it.
Yes, hack it. Now, when the meal is done, when the food is done, and the cannabis is done, you're going to get 2 separate bills.
Okay.
Yeah.
So they really are
separate. They are 2 separate companies, and that's really cool too. So, yes.
Yeah. And I hear that there's actually a bill right now that is on the table, and it is going to help them in the future because that's supposed to like go away. I think that's why I have to commend Cali, because they've been going back, and we talked about that last episode, like really just retrofitting and fixing some of the laws that just make no sense. Like, we know the real science now, so we don't have to have the real science law, bro. You know?
Yeah. And I do feel like people in government positions are really trying to find the accurate information to do the appropriate rules and regulations. That is like, which is one of the most important things, but it does take a while. Yes. You know, that's why we always say it starts from the beginning, because when you have to go back through your law and go through it with a fine-tooth comb, it's going to take a long time.
And undo a lot of things. It also causes a lot of additional costs for business owners. So the way they've set this up, Lowell has put more money into the setup, but I think they're going to get their return on investment here because it is an innovative approach, and they're stepping out as a thought leader. Like, hey, we don't know if this will work, but it is in compliance with the law as it stands, and so this might be a model that other states and other people can use.
Definitely. Well, it is working because it was sold out. Okay, I tried to get it.
We're going to get seen, and we probably will have to go live from there.
Yes, while we're smoking something too, because that is the whole point. And it's not in a, what you call it,
a dungeon.
Yes.
No, it's a garden. It's a beautiful garden.
Yes,
almost like the liking of a beer garden, except we're not sipping beer.
Right, we're consuming cannabis. Hello. And so we want to continue our discussions of some great hot topics. And in North Carolina, we've been talking about, you know, the South and how much hemp they're doing.
Talk about hitting the pipe.
Okay, hitting the pipe. So the South and their hemp and making it, you know, their new agriculture cop. And so a North Carolina mom was arrested for smoking hemp cigarette in her car.
Yeah, so North Carolina, a lot of people don't know, is really, for me, from a business standpoint, right now is that CBD capital of the country. Yeah. Kentucky might be the hemp capital of the country, mostly from a white male perspective. But in terms of just the way the market is looking under retail and what's available, proliferation of products and brands, North Carolina is absolutely leading the way. So it surprised me. If you said South Carolina, given what we were talking about, where they have outlawed smokable hemp completely because they want to remain ignorant. But yes, North Carolina is in a little bit more of a weird predicament where smokable hemp is totally legal, along with most of the other states that have legalized hemp, right? Yeah. But marijuana is still illegal, and it still has some, law enforcement related to it. It's not completely decriminalized. And basically, it seems like the police officers and lawyers or prosecutors, they don't really care to learn the difference. They don't care to update their technology to be able to tell the difference, or better yet, change the law on the marijuana side so it's just free to cannabis, please, right? Free to plant. But yes, it's annoying. And this woman right now, mom, you said
she's a mom. So let me give you a background story. She got into a car accident at while before she started smoking hemp, and she needed something for her anxiety because she had to drive. She had to go be a mom, and she needed something. Someone told her to try hemp because it will help her with her anxiety and it won't give you the psychoactive feeling. Of course it won't, because it doesn't have it. And so I guess she was in her car and the cop came and was like, "You're smoking weed." And she's like, "No, I'm smoking hemp." And she got fined and had to go to jail, and all this stuff is going on, and she's still going through the legal process to this day.
Yeah, I think that that's terrible. And I mean, I was reading more about it, and it said specifically that she like had the package. It says, and I mean, that's something I'm a proponent of. Wrote about it in Entrepreneur. When you're like putting together your package for your CBD, you do want to make sure people know, hey, this was made, this is hemp derived CBD, and it has, you know, lower than this threshold, because until that law is changed, you know, I don't necessarily agree with it. That is something that you have to do to be compliant. And she had that, and it didn't matter. He didn't care. He thought she was lying and didn't even really bother to, like, you know, take note of the packaging. Like, what is she manufacturing that in her house? And I don't know. It just seemed real extra. Yeah. Like, but maybe he should have smoked it himself, and then it probably like that's some regs. Like, what would have said? He would have probably thought it was like some dunce weed, because oftentimes what we don't realize in the legacy illegal markets, what we call regs, what we call mids, is actually usually hemp. Because we can't tell the difference necessarily phenotypically. It still will smell like marijuana. It still has terpenes. It still comes with a full cannabinoid profile. The major difference is really man-made and something that we can, you know, really breed to in the genetics and grow for specific to be within the law of the less than 0.3% THC.
Absolutely.
But you also have to have the equipment, I believe, at, you know, through law enforcement, if that's the way you're going to go, to be able to tell that percentage. And right now, that's what's happening. They're saying they don't have the ability to tell to that small percentage of THC. But I also want to be like, okay, we got this arbitrary 0.3%. I'm real, it's arbitrary. What matters if you can tell that it's less than 5% THC, right? If we knew the science and we knew about bioavailability, these are terms that I want you to Google, you'll know that, you know, once you get past a certain point, you're probably not talking about a loaded weapon, really. And we're tackling it in a different way, I think, if we understand that science. Now, technically, you're not talking about hemp in the way we define it, but it's still not potent marijuana, right? And I use that word
loosely, right? Right. With air quotes. So, you know, and this brings me into the topic of smokable hemp. You know, it's so funny because I like hemp cigarettes. I've tried them a few. I think there's been a few misses and a few hits, mainly misses, but I do think it's a great opportunity for people to have an alternative to cigarettes, or even an alternative to any prescription drug that may be helping them. So can you put on your science coat and get right?
Where's my coat?
Right. Hello. And get your goggles out and take us through, you know, what is smoking hemp? Why is it good for you? What is the difference from smoking hemp and smoking cannabis? What are some of the same things we see, and what are the things that are different?
Well, first of all, I'll correct something that you said where you said smoking hemp versus smoking cannabis. Well, hemp and marijuana are both cannabis. So when I say it as cannabis, I'm thinking about that entire spectrum. Why do we call it cannabis? Because that entire spectrum has cannabinoids. There, you know, the molecules that we've been talking about. THC is the molecule in question that a lot of people are most afraid about. It's like the big old bad THC. And in fact, it is really, it unlocks a lot, and it's a great key here, but ultimately the level of THC is what defines a lot of the difference legally for hemp and marijuana. If it's less than 0.3% less THC, then you're in that hemp category. And it does look different phenotypically. There are a lot of other properties that, I mean, really, this is why I want to create a workbook so people can learn like what happens and what in the cultivation process and how you make them, you know, if you wanted to grow them, can you do it in the same space? Those type of questions. But at the end of the day, hemp has all the other cannabinoids, and it is an abundance of CBD in the way it's grown. So when you smoke it, you are getting a high percentage of CBD as compared to marijuana. Most marijuana strains, you're getting a higher percentage of THC, and the other cannabinoids, including CBD, are a lot less. But there are some strains out there that that's not the case too. So you can breed marijuana to have high CBD, low THC as well.
Yes.
It's a plant.
Yes.
It can be what we've decided to be if you have the seeds to start that process. And crossbreeding and such are like cultivars, and what we really call them to create the strains, cultivars, it is all science. And I can't wait to unlock that. But knowing that is what is fueling the hemp. Yes. For why it's smokable is okay or good, yes, is sort of the key. CBD is the key there. And you know, that's different from taking a CBD tincture where the tincture will already tell you what the dosing is. With smoking, there's a couple different things. You're not gonna know what you're dosing. You can gauge because if you use and you smoke regularly and you do in small amounts, you microdose, you're able to get a feeling as to what has worked for you and when you need more, or maybe next time a little bit less. But the good news is with CBD, like it's not about you having too much and feeling like, oh my God, I'm gonna die. That's never gonna happen because it doesn't have some of the euphoric or psychotropic experience with THC. Yeah. It really is about over relaxation to some degree. So maybe if you have something you want to work on that night, and you decide to smoke and you smoke a bit too much hemp, you may be so relaxing, you may get a great night of rest.
I've been there. Been on that rest night.
Instead of getting the stuff done that you wanted to get done. So, but it is,
well, I wanted to just jump in
Yeah,
here real quick.
Sure
Yes, I do. So just to go over dosing, just real quick, because you kicked that ballistic real quick. Okay. So with dosing, what is the difference to smoking at the dosing and actual taking the tincture dosing? And what are the difference in numbers and how you get it? Is it active, still has to be activated like it does with THC cannabis?
Right. Funny. So there are a few things. THC, and she's hinting because she knows, THC is a molecule that in order for it to actually do anything really, I mean, it does stuff actually when it's not activated, but the things that we are worried about is scared about that euphoric and psychotropic, it has to be activated, it has to be decarboxylated, whereas CBD does not have to be. I mean, honestly, you can just eat the hemp flower if you want to and get similar effects. It would be going through a different type of system in your body. Inhaling it, it gets through the blood a bit faster than ingestion, where it has to be digested and then go to the blood. But ultimately, it still doesn't have to be burned in order for that CBD to really be effective. That's what happens when you're burning marijuana. You're decarboxylating the THC. Yeah. And you don't have to do that with hemp in order to decarboxylate CBD. You don't have to do that. But people like smoking. You like smoking.
I love smoking.
You like the inhale and exhale process, and that in of itself can be very, very like relaxing. Yes. And I think if we're looking, like, let's be real, if people are smoking still and they know it's killing you, like cigarettes. Right. And so we're right now, I think from a public health perspective, you cannot force a whole population to take something of a habit and like completely remove it. That would be ideal, right? Because that's the best thing for the lungs probably. But if you can replace what they're currently smoking, which is mostly poison, with something that has real benefits and is not the poison, it helps with balance and really, can be a help, then why wouldn't you do that? So I see it as a healthier alternative. Yeah. And so I'm a proponent of it if you're weaning yourself off of cigarettes. And if wrapped in hemp paper as opposed
and hemp filter.
And a hemp filter.
Hemp filter. You can make a hemp filter.
Yeah.
That's probably like my biggest pet peeve. It's like, why do you have a cigarette filter basically on, what is hemp?
Yes. The last thing I will say, just to clarify the dosing, a tincture is going underneath the tongue. It's going to also be fast acting because it's going to interact with the arteries and the veins of the tongue that, can pass through that blood barrier. But the dosing there is probably going to be a little bit easier, even though some people have issues with the dropper. Most companies are making it so that the full dropper is a specific amount, 50 milligrams or 20 milligrams. And you'll have to look to see what's the total milligrams of CBD in the amount, right? It's usually a 15 milliliter bottle or a 30 milliliter bottle for a tincture. But basically, that will tell you how much you're getting. So if you only want 20 and it's telling you that one dropper is 20, you take the whole dropper, you put it under your tongue, you got 20 milligrams. Difference with hemp is that only a portion of hemp is actually CBD. Hemp is a whole plant. Yeah. And so you got a whole bunch of other stuff, terpenes and other cannabinoids. Yeah, all the other good stuff, right? All that other good stuff. But you can find out how much your particular hemp strain, how much CBD it has in it. It's the same way if this sour diesel has a 19% THC. Well, you can back into, if you got a gram and it's 19%, I won't do the math, but you can figure out how many milligrams of THC are actually in that gram that you're smoking. Right. Same science, same math. It's not street science, it's real math. You can do the same thing with hemp. And so if you have something where you got 20% CBD, because usually hemp is 20% or higher, but it can be lower. You can back into it. Hey, I have a gram cigarette. This is how much I need to smoke in order for me to get X amount of milligrams. Yeah. I think that it's a little bit harder because you're smoking it, and some people inhale and exhale differently.
Yes. Yes. Inhaling and exhaling is so important. So can we talk about how do you actually, what is the appropriate way to consume hemp or even THC? Yeah. Maybe.
Yeah. Well, I'm not like the super expert. Yeah. Don't get me wrong. I'm a one-hit wonder.
I know.
But I make that hit count.
Okay, well, how you make it count then?
So I got to shout out my girl, my soror, the Dank Duchess. She is one of the few African-American, if only African-American hash maker in the world, and she's awesome. And she taught me how to dab like a lady as well as to really smoke like a sailor, but a real smoker, right? Most people, and I don't know where we got this, this idea of pulling in the smoke and then we got to like hold it. I've seen guys cough a dance out, literally holding their smoke because they want to make sure that was a good
hit, right?
And in fact, I think me and Duchess laughed because, and I wish she was on the show right now because
we gotta get her on the show.
But we're basically, you're feeling anything you're feeling at that point after you've held your breath that long, any dizziness, anything, it's not due to the marijuana, it's not due to the hit, it's because you ain't getting enough oxygen to your brain. Okay? So I just, again, real science, street science, I joke all the time, and it's a silly thing, but she teaches us how to smoke, and I found it was a complete difference in my ability to make a hit really count. Essentially, you want to take a full breath in, but not really, right? Mm-hmm. It's about a 75% fill of your lungs. You're like, well, what is that? Right. It took me a minute to figure out, so you will have to practice it. But it's basically just at that point where you pulled in and you feel like anymore you're going to cough. Okay. You don't need to hold it. As soon as you pulled it in, you blow it out really hard and you push it out. When I realized that there's no holding, you don't have to see that kind of embarrassing like hacking and coughing that happens. You don't really need that much time for the molecules to work in the lungs. And I think a lot of people, that's one of those street science things.
Real misconception.
For real. And I just want to stomp the hell on it.
Like, A-Town, stomp that mud. East side stomp.
Right. You just don't have to do it. Do it. But I know, like, it's part of our culture, right? Yeah. So you can't be, like, I'm from East New York. Like, I talk to my homies and you got homeboys. Like, that's just part of now how they flow. whoa, how they move. They've been doing it for years, and there's nothing you can tell them. I mean, I ain't trying to put nobody's daddies on blast, but
girl, you know I know, okay? I know, and everybody who know me know I know. But you know, we're here to dispel those myths and really encourage people to do it the right way, because you will enjoy it more. I always hear that. I've taught so many people, you know, how to do the inhale, exhale too, and they literally come back and they're like, "Yo, you change. I haven't coughed since." And
also, you could spread your weed a lot longer too, because you're not wasting it. You know, a lot of it is that people are burning and they don't really know what they're doing, actually wasting their weed. Don't waste the weed.
No, that's a party foul. If you waste the weed, that's a party foul. So we done hit you with so many facts, so many ballistics. We're not going to try to keep blowing your weight back. Let's get into where in the world would the weed head be?
Oh my goodness. Okay, so
oh, drum roll, please.
I'm so excited because my son is about to be 16.
Cool.
And to celebrate the fact that I gave birth to a 10-pound baby.
And 2 ounces, and it was his head too. It was
Stop!
just
Don't talk about it like that. You're funny, but it was.
You was a cute little baby though. I ain't gonna lie, it was a little cabby fat.
It happened so fast for 16 years, and I'm celebrating in Jamaica, y'all. Okay.
Without him though. Because
he's in school, and I am celebrating being a mom for 16 years, and it's been awesome. But I'm actually going to be at CanX for the big conference in Jamaica, really supporting minorities for medical marijuana. Excited to be there because Jamaica's legal, y'all. I keep saying it, but
it's legal, and they have land strains, so that's
that also.
And then where are you going, Archie? You throwing it back, going us to some throwbacks. Throwback to Jordan's birthday, 16. Now we're about to throw back to college years.
Oh my gosh, yeah. So headed to Princeton the beginning of October for the, I guess it's not really annual, it's kind of like biannual, but basically the Association of Black Princeton Alumni has a conference called Thrive, and I will be there as an author, as well as a roundtable discussion leader. We'll be talking about identity and intersectionality and having a discussion about that. You know, of course, we're Princeton, so we're a little nerdy, but we will also throw it back.
Okay. You got a little surprises for people.
Well, it ain't a surprise that I put it all over my gram, all over my social media. But if you're watching this and you are anywhere from Princeton, going to Thrive, you throw it back. Do the video.
Okay. Okay. I know that's right. Practice in the Allen Iverson voice. And then we're heading to the Midwest. And you're cashing out on cannabis?
Yes. I mean, is Detroit really the Midwest?
I don't know.
I guess so. I'm not sure. But yes, we'll be in Michigan hanging out with Simone Casson, and she is one dope chick that's cashing in on cannabis. And I'm really just there to support. This is the kickoff of a tour for her. And she's really been educating folks on how to take advantage of the stocks opportunities with cannabis. And I'm there to talk about what you're going to do if you want to work in the cannabis industry. And I don't mean work as in work for someone, but work for yourself in the industry, work to improve the industry, work to legitimize, stabilize, and get that equity in the industry.
Absolutely. Well, we can't wait. And then you're going to be heading to the Cannabis Media Summit on the East Coast.
Yes, that's definitely East Coast because it's New York, y'all.
Yeah. Okay. And New York City, actually.
Yeah. So shout out to Kristen Jordan. She's done an amazing job really making this happen. I think this is the second year in a row.
Yes.
And I'm just excited to be supporting as a sponsor, and I hope that I'll be able to put little goodies in the bag.
I know that's right. Well, definitely, and shout out to Michelle because that is my canon friend, and she also works on Manada.
Yes, and the maid. So you want to subscribe. They will show you where every little event. I mean, this girl knows as a socialite, but every event, every city, whatever's going on across the country, they've got a feed for it.
Yes. So definitely sign up online. And then we're going to be here in Cannabis 103 in Buffalo.
Yes, I can't wait to get back to Buffalo because it's like our second home now.
Yes, and it's got my favorite food.
Yes, we talked about that last time. We actually have a date change on that
yes.
because I think we thought for a while it was going to be happening this weekend, but turns out had to switch it up, and so we are now October 26th.
Yes,
we are going to be doing the Cannabis 103. So this is the third installment by the majority leader, Kristen People-Stokes, teaching her hometown, her area about the cannabis industry. And it's basically all the things that I love, how you can get in without really touching the plant and making sure you're capitalizing on what's happening now. Everybody thinks you have to wait till it's legalized. That's just don't do it. Don't do it, honey. No. No.
Well, I am so glad you kicked the ballistics and you letting us know and showing us where in the world is the weed head. And so, you guys, it's been a great show.
Yes.
Don't forget to follow She Blaze on all social media platforms. Okay. We looking for the likes and the follows. And
okay. She is. That's what she does. That's her job. I'm not saying I'm not looking for them, but I'm looking for questions. If you guys have questions that you want us to answer here, we pick our hot topics because we are running and gunning and we see what's happening. It's what excites us, but we're also interested in what excites you guys. In the second season, I think we actually, I feel like we're pretty comfortable talking to you about the real. And so there's no questions that are off limits. You want to hit us at info@theweedhead.com if you want to send questions, or we have a She Blaze email as well, right?
She Blaze at theweedhead.com. Because we are the Weedhead and Company. Hello.
Yes.
And feel free to follow me, Cannabis Socialite, on all social media platforms as well.
Yes. And of course, I am the Cannabis CEO on Instagram and Twitter, and the Weedhead everywhere else.
Yes. And theweedhead.com. So we're out of here.
Yes.
Bye.
Bye.
Wait, you got to give like 3 seconds before you get up.
Oh, see, that's the blooper we got to cut.
Okay.
Bye.
Okay, 1, 2, 3, down. I'm like, wait, it's 3 seconds on and 3 seconds off. He was like, bye.
Wait, it's still recording.
It's probably, that's all like blooper stuff at this point. It's 37 minutes though. Ooh, it's hot, ain't it? I'm sweating, look. I don't know, maybe I'm sick.